Ryan Binkley, Republican candidate for the newly drawn 32nd Congressional District. Thank you so much and welcome to Eye on Politics.
Well, thank you very much, Jack. Great to be with you.
Nice to be with you. So why are you running for Congress and what is the essence of your campaign?
Well, great. Well, I'm running for Congress because our district needs leadership that really reflects their values. Right now, as you know, a lot of America is struggling, mainly financially, and the affordability of where their life is now compared to where it was 5 years ago. We've printed about 40% of our nation's money supply in the last 5 years, and a lot of people are struggling to keep up. Bottom line, the dollar's not going as far as it used to in healthcare and business, housing, so many key issues. And I think it's time to put a business leader in Congress, similar to the way President Trump was in the White House. Let's put a business leader in Congress. And so I'm a business leader here in the area, in the district. I'm also a pastor, and I'm fighting for the next generation. I've got 5 kids that are 15 to 25, and they simply do not have the same opportunities that I had and you and I had 30 years ago. And I'm fighting for them to make sure we get our country right now for our generation and save it for theirs.
You've got a crowded Republican field, as you know. I don't have to tell you that. 9 candidates, I think. And so why should Republican primary voters select you over the others?
Well, great. Well, I think, as I just mentioned, you have to decide who do you want to represent you. Right now, we've gotten in a lot of trouble. We're almost $40 trillion in debt. In fact, we haven't had a surplus in our budget, and I think in over 25 years now. So we've had an addiction to deficit spending, and we don't have leaders today, I think, they can stand up against PAC groups and lobby groups that want to buy their vote and bring their influence in. So we have to have leaders that go to Congress that represent the district instead of representing the big power money groups out there. So I can't be bought. I want to come and make sure that they know that I have their best interest in mind. And I think if they want a leader that understands money, how to balance a budget, how to bring DOGE cuts into law, which we only brought in 1% in this last legislation, I think we need leaders today that can be, hold strong to that. I had a chance to meet with one of our congressmen recently in D.C., and he's retiring, Congressman Jody Arrington, and he handed me his balanced budget book because he fought for 8 years. And he said, Ryan, this is my biggest regret. I couldn't get it done. And I said, Jody, if God gives me this opportunity, I'll take this mantle and we'll fight for this because this is the real fight. How do we truly bring change economically and growth, but still cut costs to have a healthy country?
How do you do that?
Wisdom. It's going to take a lot of hard work. I think the biggest way is to grow first. President Trump needs leaders that know how to grow small businesses, and that's what I do for a living. We help businesses grow in our company. We now have about 400 employees nationwide, and what we do is help businesses grow and sell. And what business owners need is they need access to capital a little bit better through the SBA program. It's harder today. They need the government to get out of the way. We have more 4-letter and 3-letter acronym agencies out there putting undue pressure on them. Next thing we do is we have to solve the healthcare affordability crisis. We have healthcare costs that are about 40% higher than regular inflation for 30 years. And I have a plan to gut that and to make it a free marketplace. When we do those 3 things, we'll get small businesses thriving again. And that's the key to growth. After that, let's put wasteful spending into the budget, get that out of there, so to speak, so we can have a true healthy economy and growth.
Paul Bondar, Republican candidate for the newly drawn 32nd Congressional District. Thank you so much and welcome to Eye on Politics.
Well, thank you, Jack. I'm very happy to be here.
Nice to see you. So
Thank you.
Why are you running for Congress and what is the essence of your campaign?
Well, I think for so long, especially during COVID, is when I realized Americans deserve more. We deserve more, and we have to have a really good representation. And I came to the conclusion that you can either be a Monday morning quarterback and you can just sit there and complain, or you can do something about it. And so after COVID, I said, I want to get involved. I want to represent people. I've been a businessman for 20 plus years. I started a business with 1 employee in the crash of 2008. And I started from very little, and I grew that company from 1 employee up to one of the top 120 something agencies in America. You have to be right a lot of times in order to do that. It's time somebody's right for the American people and the folks here of Texas.
You've got a crowded field of candidates, as you know. There are 9. And so why should Republican primary voters select you over the others?
Well, it is a crowded field, but a couple things. Nothing comes easy. You have to go out and work for it. I've been one of the ones that have been working and consistently involved. Secondarily, most importantly, I live in the district. You have a couple candidates who don't. And I don't understand how you can ask somebody to vote for you if you can't even vote for yourself, right? So there's a couple candidates that I think we're going to have some issues with that because people want to have a representative that understands them. I go to the local church, they can see me, I'll be held accountable, and they say, Paul, why did you vote for something like that? And I'm going to be able to explain to them why I did and why they're going to be happy or not. When you don't live in the district and you don't have that accountability, I think people are going to be, people are afraid of that type of dynamic. And so I think that that's a qualifying issue that is really, really super important, and a disqualifying issue that is going to be a deal breaker for many.
I know you ran for Congress in Oklahoma a couple of years ago, but you're in Rockwall now.
Been in Rockwall for 6 years, and I had a secondary residency that I made into a primary residency because people in Oklahoma were saying, hey, we need somebody to run, we need help, we are not getting good representation. And I turned them down, and that was 2022. And they kept asking in 2023 and 2024, I said, let's go try to help. I was talked in, I was flattered that people would say, they said, hey, we get all our best recruits to play at OU from Texas. It might just take a guy from Texas to get our politics right. It was very flattering. But ultimately, I don't think it was the right thing because I underestimated how important it is to really live in the district. And Jack, the thing is, I was able to vote for myself. I had property, I had a ranch, well over 500 acres. I had a vested interest at least. We have a candidate right now that's living in the shadow of the Oklahoma border right now that's about as far away as what I was when I ran initially and decided to change my residence to my primary residence, but hasn't done that and can't vote for himself and has no vested interest. The irony on this is the underestimation that you have to have roots. So I'm going back to my Rockwall roots. I have 6 years in that community, and people are going to want to have a representative that represents them. And so that was a great opportunity and a great lesson to me on just how important. And ultimately, did I win that race? No, because it wasn't the right race for me. This is the right race now because I'm in the district. I'm in Rockwall County, and I'm proud to be able to say I'm the only Rockwall County resident that's running. But most importantly, I'm in the district when others are not, and that's the commitment people are looking for.
Darrell Day, Republican candidate for the newly drawn 32nd Congressional District. Thank you so much and welcome to Eye on Politics.
Great to see you. Great to be here. Thanks for having us.
You bet. So why are you running for Congress and what is the essence of your campaign?
I'll tell you, it's right here. It's the U.S. Constitution. We have drifted away from the basic tenets that have made our country great. And it seems like year by year, for almost 250 years, it seems like we float further away from the Constitution. And there are other countries that have constitutions. Russia has a constitution surprisingly similar to ours, and obviously they don't follow it, right? We have to get back to the Constitution, and that's very, very central to my campaign, and that's why I'm running.
You're in a crowded field. You've got a total of 9 candidates, 8 others, and why should Republican primary voters select you over the others?
Very, very clear difference. Number one, I'm one of the few that actually lives in the district. Majority of the candidates in this race don't even live in the district. Some of them live an hour outside the district. We also are not accepting out-of-state PAC money. There are some candidates in this race that are taking a lot of money from out-of-state PACs, and they're going to be beholden to out-of-state PACs. We're endorsed by over 50 GOP precinct chairs in the district. We are the grassroots campaign. We are, like I said, endorsed by a lot of conservative Republican leaders, and that is our focus. Also, I'm more of a hardliner on immigration. I've spoken out more forcefully about supporting ICE agents, even when they're, pilloried by the Democrats, pilloried by the liberal media. We have to support ICE agents in deporting criminals and also all illegal immigrants. Now, if they want to come back in the country, that's great. We are a nation of immigrants and we want them to come back, but the right way, the legal way. A majority of Americans, 70% of Americans, want all illegals deported. That's why President Trump got elected. His pledge to have mass deportations of illegal immigrants. Right now, Jack, Our immigration is at the highest level it's ever been in our history, even higher than when we had the flood of Irish into New York. Our level of immigration is the highest it's ever been, and we need to take a pause on immigration. I've suggested a 5-year pause on immigration. Maybe if there's a Nobel Prize winner in biochemistry, we'll let a couple in, but basically a pause on immigration so the people here can assimilate, and also so we can set up the system to properly vet immigrants coming to our country. I mean, if you don't have a border, you don't have a country, and that's what Americans voted for when they voted for President Trump.
Does that include refugees?
We need to do a better job of vetting refugees. I think that's been used kind of as a crutch. I think it's been abused, but yes, I think we need to maybe allow some refugees from around the world, but we have to do a much better job vetting them because, like I said, that's been abused.
Jace Yarbrough, a Republican candidate for the newly drawn 32nd Congressional District. Thank you so much and welcome back to Eye on Politics.
Thanks for having me, Jack. I appreciate it.
You bet. So why are you running for Congress and what is the essence of your campaign?
Sure. Well, first of all, as a Christian, I think the Lord has certain vocations for each one of us. He gives us interests and abilities, background, experience, and connections, and we're supposed to use those in a certain type of work that He has for us. And my conviction is, my understanding is that politics and sort of cultural engagement and confrontation is part of my vocation. So I've been in this world for a time, done a number of things, and when this opportunity came up, I was grateful to see our legislature create these 5 new Republican seats in order to provide backup and reinforcements for the President and the America First agenda in Congress. We got into this race, you may know, kind of at the last minute. There was an America First candidate that was going to be in this race, and ultimately that didn't work out, and she decided not to run. And when that happened, we looked around, saw the field, and realized that there wasn't a viable America First candidate in the race. And so we got in order to be that and to provide for the people of Texas 32 that option. This is a Trump plus 17 district, a very Republican, very red district. I'm very proud to be that America First candidate in the race. Our campaign is unabashedly a supporter of the President and his agenda. We are here to fight for that agenda and to move the ball forward and really make permanent a lot of the gains that have been realized by his administration just in this past year.
As you know, you've got a very crowded field of candidates. You have 8 others that you're going up against, and all the Republicans say they support President Trump and his policies. Yeah. But I'm wondering, at the end of the day, why should Republican primary voters select you over the others?
Sure. Well, I think, every election cycle, politicians stand up and say things that they know voters want to hear, and we, the voters, hope that we can trust them, and a lot of times, unfortunately, we find out that we probably can't. I would say the first thing is look at the past actions and behavior of each of the candidates in the race. And so I'm very proud of my history and the things that I've done to demonstrate my commitment to putting America first, whether it's standing up to wokeism in the military or refusing the COVID-19 vaccine when others attempted to force it on me, whether my employer or the military itself, starting a classical Christian farm school for my children and other children in my community whose parents didn't want them to be indoctrinated with a lot of unfortunate ideologies that we all realize were being pushed on our kids kind of during COVID. And so I think that's an important piece. And so, I'm very much open and authentic about my convictions. They're very consistent, and the President's agenda is very consistent with my past. But there's also, in addition to sort of policy conviction, there's also a disposition, I think, that's really important, and it sets apart those who are seeking to represent what I call kind of the new right, or others have called the new right, the America First right. And that is a disposition that says, look, Republicans for too long have simply played defense, and they think that's enough, right? Now, I'm grateful for many things about William Buckley, but he famously said, right, we stand athwart history yelling stop. And at the end of the day, a defensive strategy, as Napoleon said, ultimately leads to defeat. We are experiencing a kind of slow motion cultural or civilizational suicide. We are being defeated, and Republicans too often offer what the left wants just at a slightly slower pace. Our approach, whether as demonstrated through the kind of work that I do on the legal side, for example, bringing lawsuits against the left, is to say it's time for Republicans to go on offense, to take ground, to have a positive vision of where we want to go, and to fight for that, and not simply refrain from using power because we're afraid the left is going to do that to us, or because we somehow want to impress moderates with our self-control, right? Those days are over. We have an objective, we have a country to go save, and we need to go save it. And to do that, we have to go on offense, and we have to fight back. And I think that makes me different from each of the other candidates that's running in this race.
What did you mean when you said that, basically describing the country as committing suicide? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, yes.
So what does that mean?
Yeah, well, I think there's something inherent in the kind of liberal project, which ultimately leads to what I sometimes refer to and others refer to as civilizational suicide. What do I mean by that? We can feel as Americans that a lot of our common spaces are becoming more chaotic. We're slowly being pulled apart as a people. We don't share kind of common loves with our fellow citizens, and sometimes we don't even understand where they're coming from or their behavior. Sometimes the behavior between fellow citizens is very antagonistic. Why is that? At the end of the day, I think it's because institutions that used to be about forming national cohesion by giving us all a sort of common understanding of who we are as a people, instilling in us a love for our heritage and who we are as Americans, those institutions have now been used, in fact, to cause us to hate those things. And I point to public schools as the prime example of that, right? So much of the ideology pushed on American families and students today is about causing them to hate their heritage, not love it. Now, unfortunately, hatred leads to disintegration, right? Not to get too meta or philosophical, but Aristotle said two friends, the strength of their bond and connection is directly related to the strength of their love for what he called a transcendent third, or a higher value, or a higher ideal. We're losing that common love. And when we do that, we slowly, our bonds are weakened, and then a lot of our common spaces break down.
So what, in your mind, is the solution to changing that, preventing that, et cetera?
Well, I think one of the reasons, the president has so much support across the country is because the policies that he's put forward directly address these issues, right? A big one is immigration. People who come to this country, and our immigration policy, it should be, as the president has said, it should be about creating national cohesion. It should be about bringing those people here ultimately to serve the American people.
You're talking about assimilation.
Correct, yes. If you come here, you need to be interested in being a part of who we are as a country. You need to be grateful for who we are as a people, and you have to have a desire to be a part of that. Obviously, under the Biden administration, we experienced the exact opposite, right? There were networks of folks who were brought here, from criminals to certain, even terrorist organizations that infiltrated our country and are now actively defrauding the American people, causing chaos and havoc in our streets. And one of the reasons I think the president has endorsed our campaign is because we realize the importance and primacy of restoring and returning to an American immigration policy, again, that prioritizes Americans, American families, American students, American workers. Because at the end of the day, average Americans have to depend on a lot of these common spaces, like local police departments, or schools, or libraries, or local businesses. And when those local businesses are inundated with, run by, or by foreigners who have no desire to assimilate or be a part of our country, when they're infected with ideologies that cause the people who are in them every day to hate America, well, then these common spaces break down. And for average Americans who don't have the means to sort of buffer themselves for those common spaces because they can't, for example, hire their own security forces or bodyguards, well, then life gets very expensive and very chaotic, and our civilization starts to break down, and we're weaker as a country.